innovation is, you know, being bold enough to take a step in that direction that not a lot of people have taken, and being okay with whatever comes of that road.
Welcome to Rise and Stride, where we empower you to take your next step in an ever-changing business landscape. Here's your host, Denise LeDuc-Fremming, President and CEO of the California Society of CPAs.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Rise and Stride. Today's guest is Kendall King, founder and owner of KCK CPA and man behind, I'm going to say brains behind, CPA Con, an innovative and interactive accounting conference coming up on December 3rd. And we'll talk more about that as we go through our conversation. Kendall has been involved in the profession for more than a decade, holding audit and finance positions with Deloitte, Jackson Hewitt, Chrysler Group, and Netflix, and among others. As a CPA, Kendall specializes in bringing custom-made financial solutions to actors, musicians, content creators, writers, gamers, and other creative professionals, offering innovative strategies that embrace the latest in digital finance. Sounds like a cool job, doesn't it? To our audience, I'm sure. He also serves as CFO for DreamCon, which brings together entertainers in the anime, gaming, and streaming spaces, and is the fastest growing Black-owned conference of its kind. Kendall, I am so looking forward to talking to you. You are just out there doing such creative work and reading just how you think about accounting. You are definitely inspiration. So we are lucky to have you. Thank you.
Love that. Again, I say this every time, and so I'm gonna be a broken record, but every time somebody does me an intro like that, I'm like, man, yeah, I guess that's all that happened, huh?
You know what? You make it happen. And I think it's awesome. I really do. So let's maybe get started because you started at Deloitte, right? And now you're doing all this awesome innovative financial strategies for these entertainers, gamers. It just, you went the spectrum, right? And you're still shaking and moving in this world. So tell us how you got there and how you kept yourself motivated and your process for kind of visioning.
Gotcha. So yeah, it started in Deloitte, and I think that was a good place to start because it gave me the foundation. So being able, starting an audit and going into a company, looking at all the ways that, what could go wrong, when you're looking at ROMs and, basically understanding how a business should be working, properly. It gives you an example and a foundation in, understanding business. And then for me, I take that and I just look at, okay, this is how this has been done. What are the other ways that things can also be done? And I kind of look at that, when I'm looking at a client, but I also do look at that when I look at life in general. And so when, I'm thinking of what I want to do and, back then, what how I wanted to shape my career, I knew that it was important for me to really understand what's all out there and gravitate to what I felt was a passion of mine, which was the entertainment space. Because growing up, I loved watching TV. I love playing video games with, my siblings and cousins and friends. And so it was just very natural for me to find that within my profession as well. And it's helped me find these new challenges because I need to be challenged. I need to be engaged. I can't, and again, no shame to nobody else. It's just not, doesn't fit me, but I can't have the same job for 20 years doing the same thing. I kind of look at, when I was, auditing, companies back in the day, and it was like AP clerks who were there for years. That takes some consistency and some commitment that I don't have. I need to be challenged. I need to be like, all right, I got this. Great. Now what's next? And so I really took that approach whenever I, took a role or decided to take on a client and, is this, progressing me and, my vision.
I love that because we talk a lot about curiosity and you're curious at every intersection. You really are. And you're always I think it's important for the audience and young professionals to just remember you can take your passion and you can link it to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? It's you can find that connection somehow if you're curious.
Yes, 100%. Honestly, I challenge people to do that because that's a sure shot way of longevity in, and specifically in accounting, but I think it's in any profession, but specifically in accounting, which is oftentimes assumed to be boring or assumed to be monotonous. And I think that that's only because you're deciding not you don't think that you can have them both. You don't think that you can have fun and be an accountant. And that is truly a myth because, it's really is up, but it is up to you to put yourself in those situations to be able to have both, to be in that middle of that Venn diagram of sort.
100% true. Yeah, you have to put yourself there. That's a great, I think, reminder for everyone that that is the opportunity that's out there on their journey. So, in one interview, you said you're creating a community and changing perceptions and not just offering services. So, can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what that means from that perception standpoint?
Yep, I think number one, don't know what interview I said that in, so and keep me honest. But
Obviously, it made an impact.
but I think, again, from my standpoint is, again, it really goes to, I think I said this in a past thing too, about just like a work-life balance and how I strive to, I think a lot of times in the past that means keeping a line in the sand and keeping this separate and keeping that separate. Where, for better or for worse, I look for how I can integrate the two and in the best way possible. Because if you enjoy what you do, then it's not, not work. I sound corny and everything how people say that, but when you really enjoy what you do and you infuse it and how you live, then I think that, you can really get to a point that, where you don't dread, dread working. So to that point that I was making was that, within accounting, more times than not, the whole industry is looked at as just that work, and you need to find some type of balance outside of doing this. And I really want to change the perception of how we as a community, we as an industry, and we as a just as people, in accounting, because again, we're people first, and wanting to change the perception that is not just some dark hole that you go into that you need to get a breather out of, but it's our responsibility, and I'm taking on the responsibility as well as other people in the industry to lighten up the mood, change how we see things, and changing those perspectives, and truly um providing an outlet for people to experience it differently. Don't know if I answered that question, but let's assume I did.
No, I think that when you say people first, it just resonates with me because a lot of times when you talk about accounting, someone will say, oh, and they'll like punch a calculator, say, oh, that's what it is. And to your point, it is people first, and it is all about the relationships, but I'm not sure that that's what's communicated out there.
I think I literally just had this conversation with somebody because they were like accounting and how so like they were doing mathematics, and then they stopped and they couldn't do accounting, but they thought it was math. I'm like, honestly, the math, we do very, very basic math in accounting. We add, subtract, divide, multiply. We don't, unless you get into like finance and you're doing those, you know modeling and forecasting and stuff like that, and using that's one thing. But more times than not, you have systems and tools to help you calculate that. More times than not, an accountant is that person to communicate information and to use logic in a way to apply it to a situation to determine the best outcome. And I think that's what I enjoy the most, because I thought I wanted to be like a mathematician and everything like that. But then I got into the class, and whenever imaginary numbers started, being introduced into the equation. That's where I was like, hold on. I was like, this is making sense before. This plus that made sense. And now we're talking about things that, just we're making up. I was like, all right, hold on, this ain't for me. And so for me, I really enjoyed that accounting is taking a concept and applying logic to it and coming up with some and devising ways and strategies. That's why I like business as well, because that's what you got to do every single day. And having the accounting background and financial background as a professional is huge, because a lot of people shy away from that. They feel like money and finances is a taboo topic to talk about, or it's just so confusing. I don't want to do it. And so more oftentimes than not, we come in and provide that space, and fill that role for people to actually be successful in the business that they have. Because a lot of, specifically in the people I work with, a lot of the creators and entertainers and stuff, they know how to entertain. They know how to create, engaging, compelling content and everything, but they don't necessarily know how to run a business. And it's very, very apparent in that, they care about creating great art, which is, again, that's your job. But the money thought process, as long as they got money in the bank, they don't really care. But it's just like, let's drill down. Was this actually a successful, project? When you look at the numbers, and that's where I kind of take it, and then I use that to help them understand what steps need to be taken in the future.
I love that you said that it's, the concept, the logic, and then the strategies, because there is that kind of making something simpler that's complex, right? And I always think that's the problem solving is at the heart of being an accountant or a CPA. It's critical. And everybody needs to solve problems. We solve problems every day.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, we are problem solvers. So if you think of math, yes, we are still using that same, equation and equal sign, but it's not just numbers that we're looking at. We're looking at, how does this issue combined with this target equal this goal? So like, what is this? More stuff like that, again, more logic based than necessarily numbers based. Numbers are what we use to glean the information and help us, but really at the end of the day, we are providing the strategy and providing the know-how on how to execute to get those numbers to do what we need them to do.
I love that. It makes so much more sense. Everyone needs to think of it like you do. So I hope that many people are listening and take that back. So maybe let's talk about innovation, because you are at the heart of innovation. Everything you do, I mean, the CPA Con is very innovative. Sometimes when people think of innovation, they think I have to build the next iPhone, or, the next Tesla or something like that. It's not, tell us your thoughts on that. It's not necessarily coming up with something like that. It's taking maybe a different approach to something that's already done.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I'm not Steve Jobs, and well, actually take that back, because Steve Jobs wasn't the one who actually created it, right? He had a team and he was the engineer. So I guess I am technically the Steve Jobs, not the Wozniak. So the people who are actually, creating the innovative thing and everything like that, for sure, like, yeah, that ain't me. I can come up with the idea. I can, and it's all about, right, looking at it in a different way. I think I said this earlier. It's just understanding how something is done, and then being able to see, all right, everything around it that wasn't said and that wasn't already, done, and finding that other pathway, looking for that side road. That's my superpower, I guess, at the end of the day, is after I understand a situation, and I can even draw it back to, like, because again, I love playing games. And when I'm playing a game, when I'm first starting to learn, I suck. I'm like, all right, all right, but I'm like, give me the rule. Like, what are the rules? Give me the black and white. Here's everything that you can do. All right, and then once I understand that, I'm like, all right, well, you didn't say I couldn't do this, so can I do that? And more times than not, people are like, wait, hold on. I guess I didn't think about it like that. No, you can't. But I'm like, well, why not? So I'm that guy, who's just like always trying to find, I guess that loophole or the other way. If the main road has all the footprints, I'm looking for the road that doesn't have too many footprints on it. It's like, all right, how does that way look? And so to your point of your question, I honestly just think innovation is you know, being bold enough to take a step in that direction that not a lot of people have taken, and being okay with whatever comes up that road, because 100% of the time is not always success. That we see when we walk down that road, but it's finding again the road less traveled, and continually trying to travel on that road and pave it. At the end of the day, and that's innovation in my mind. It's just finding that space and finding that the ability to fill in something that's not there. Here's what's here, and now I see things that aren't there. Let's create that.
That's a really good kind of image that you're creating. And I think people can understand that. And it's something to really think about and be curious, right? As they go forward. It's a great analogy to pave it. I like that.
All about curiosity. And then when we look at accounting specifically, again, it's a very nicely paved road right in front of us. I don't think that anybody can argue that it has history. It has it's nice layers of concrete on top of it, and very nice. But I think that a lot of us just get on this road as if that's the only way through, and because it's so paved, because it's so laid out for you already, and people are telling you, oh, go down, yeah, go down that way, go down this way. I think not a lot of people look to find other paths, and that's my whole like goal with what I'm doing specifically in the accounting industry, is to just put that highlight on, hey, you got all these other pathways. And so if I'm like a Google Maps or a MapQuest, I'm just like, yeah, we got some, or ways, like we got some other ways, that we can go and do this. You don't have to just take this road that that historically has been paved for people to walk down.
Yeah, being uncomfortable. I think about that a lot too. You got to be uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. I've been uncomfortable many times and thought, why did I do this? But in the end, you just have to you live with whatever it is, right? Or you switch. It's that it's that simple, kind of. So
They
um
gotta master the pivot for sure.
master the pivot. I like that. I'm gonna write that down, Kendall. That's good. Um, so let's talk about CPA Con because that's coming up December 3rd. Really exciting. Entertainment, I don't know, carnival, funnel cakes, no funnel cakes, but all sorts of different opportunities. Just can you give us just a summary, not a summary, that doesn't sound exciting. Give us the picture of it. Paint the picture.
Okay, so picture this. I am Oh, that's kind of boring. But I'm at home watching the. Oh, better yet, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna be a little imaginative here. Picture you are in front row, courtside tickets, to see the basketball All-Star weekend game, right? You're there enjoying it. People are having all these fun competitions, or you're watching that end season tournament, NBA Cup that happened, or better yet, if you like football, like I love football, you got the best seats in the house, or you're in the box when it comes, and you're at the Super Bowl, right? And you're just having so much fun. You're enjoying the game that you love. You're with the people that understand what you love, and you're in that space, in that community, and it just feels great, especially if you got a team that you're rooting for, and they win or they go. Now take all that, hold that feeling, and bring it into accounting.
I love it. I'm there.
Yes.
I have the vision.
Now that's where you are now. That's CPA Con. because what we are doing is creating those like same type of games. Because literally, I really just took concepts of how other sporting games or game shows, competitions, and I tweaked them, rearranged them, created stuff that made more sense for accounting, made more sense for finance. And, now I'm going to say, let's jump into the future and picture the scene of CPA Con is again, you're in the venue, you are surrounded by other accountants, other financial professionals, these people who know what you talk about when you mean debit and credit, not a debit and credit card, but an actual debit and credit, that they understand those differences, and they can appreciate accounting and finance and the nuances, and then they also understand that you don't just do taxes, like all of that, right? You're all surrounded by that many people, and you're enjoying and watching, maybe one of your friends who decided and was bold enough and engaged enough to want to compete in one of these competitions, and they're on stage and they're being asked a question that they know the answer to. It's like, you got this, man. And they answer it correctly. And then, all the lights are flashing, they win. Yeah, the cheering is happening. It's like, yeah, it's there. And so that's the main stage, the main programming. And then when you look around, there are the companies that maybe you've seen and maybe you've noticed them in other conventions or about them. But at this convention is a little different. They are actually engaging. They're actually, because that's one of the actual requirements for having a booth at CPA Con is that you have to have some type of engaging activity. You can't just have a table there with with some doodads and some stuff. It's like, no, you actually have to have some type of engaging activity as well to incorporate your product or whatever whatever you want to do there, but it has to be something engaging, so not too different from a carnival where you go from stall to stall and everybody got something going on. And that's the major scene there. We'll also obviously have food, we'll have music, we'll have, excuse me, we will have plenty of activities throughout the day as well to really, again, hype up and push and engage with the industry that is accounting. And then at the end of the day, when the awards are getting passed out and people are being called and named, again, just celebrating everybody for coming and being a part of history, because this is the first time that something like this, will be happening.
So I'm there mentally. I am there with the audience, the music, and everything. And I think it will be so exciting and cool to be there because I know you've done DreamCon and there's 22,000 people there. So I have no doubt you will be successful. And we're going to be there. So I can't wait to come.
Yes. No, I appreciate Kelsey. You've been a major, major partner in helping, push this. And, I'm glad that, you guys see that this is something that's needed, something that is fun. And right now it's a bit of oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. Never heard about that. It's interesting. But I know for a fact in, let's just say 5-10 years, it's more going to be like, oh, you're going to CPA Con, right? Like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm stoked. I can't wait, to go to CPA Con this year, and see what's going on. I'm training to be a contestant, like that
I
type of
love
stuff.
that. I'm
That's
training and I'm waiting in line to get tickets to go.
exactly.
And
Yep.
I'm selling the tickets for $500, $1,000 a ticket.
Look, get it how you live. I ain't mad at you.
Yeah, we can dream big, right? I love it. I love it. I'm really excited. And I have to thank you for just doing this for the profession and for having the vision and being outspoken because it's needed. It truly is. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I know we're getting long here, but we'll have to have you back, Kendall. You're so much fun to talk to. You do know your expertise, part of it is in crypto and AI. So I just wanted to touch on, how you see this within the CPA profession and just overall the opportunities that you see.
Yeah. So I got into crypto just for context. This was back when I was in college, and I went to a seminar about Bitcoin and everything, and it didn't take me much to realize like, oh, this is the future. This is, going to be the thing. It's like we were already using, cards and, digital money per se, right? So this is just the natural next step. But one thing I didn't do, which I hated. I got like about like 0.01 of a Bitcoin back then, and when it was like 1 cent, 2 cent, I forget, it was something very cheap, and I again know it's the future, but I let life get in, and it distract me. And then the very first time that it really really shot up, and I was like, wait, I know I got some Bitcoin somewhere around here. And that 1 cent worth of Bitcoin was about $280 after that. And I was just like sick to my stomach because I was like, man, if I was just had put just a little bit of money into this at that time and just let it sit and just forgot about it, we'd be in a totally different, position right now. And so since that occurred, I swore to myself that I would not let the future pass me by. And that is why I have been so on top of staying up to date, specifically with crypto, now with AI, and really making sure I'm aligning myself in in those places, and building, again, a great, foothold when it comes to, when people look for industry leaders or they look for, some guidance in that. Because, again, I'm not about to let us let this pass me by again. And, since then it's been great. And I just say that because that's the mindset I want people to have. It's not a FOMO per se, but more of a it's again fear of missing out, but more in a sense of like desire to be in, and so I think a lot of the times we look at, we focus so much on our fears and, oh man, I don't want to be left out and everything. But really change that mindset. It really made me I'm truly interested in how this stuff works and truly interested in how it got from 1 cent to $280, and understanding those opportunities and seeing, how I can best position myself and my family and my friends and my clients and into what's going on. And so instead of having, again, that FOMO, just that, that desire to want to, be in it. And so I don't know what that is. The DT I DTI or
Oh,
something.
desire to
Desire
be in?
DTBI. There you go.
TBI. I like that.
That's the first time that's been used.
I like that. I mean, you think about it as leaning in too, right? They say that if those who are going to be eliminated by AI are those who aren't leaning in and using it, right? So the importance DTBI.
There we go.
Is
It's
that
not
right?
as catchy as FOMO. So
Yeah,
we got to come up
I
with
don't
some
know.
new
I think you can make it there. I think if anyone can do it, you could make it catchy.
ones. We got more
Let's
workshop.
use it at CPA Con.
Yeah, I'm gonna workshop that. But yes, again, it's the again, even with, when we look at AI, yeah, it's the industry as a whole again has this fear um of being, replaced. This fear of, missing out of, clients and everything. But let's just be real. You can have all the technology in the world, people still don't want to do certain things, and so you're always going to have somebody who, even though the AI is available and, there's still some people still want to just talk to humans. Some people still want to engage, and some people don't even won't even know how to decipher or use that information that the tool is providing. However, you would be doing yourself a disservice if you do not understand these tools, because they save a load of time. And it's okay because now you can take that time. You were maybe in the past, you put so much time in doing monotonous work. You did put so much time into the preparation of things or and everything, and then you don't really have time to analyze it. You don't really have time to provide strategic guidance and advisory afterwards. to make those decisions. And so again, that paved road that, we have in accounting was mainly for people to just, crank out that work, for a lot of the time it was all done on paper. And so you needed as many bodies as you can to get it all done. And then we moved into, doing it with Excel and computer. And it's all right, we don't need as many, but now we need people who knows how to use these tools and move forward and everything. And so I think it's the same. It's just AI is just our, our new Excel, that, that's being introduced. And now you're able to use AI to help you, relieve some of that time that you were doing in the prep work and the monotonous work to start thinking, a lot better and a lot strategically. And, you know, because you got the time playing games at CPA Con. So
I love that. I have to ask you because we're talking about gaming. Like, what is your favorite game? Do you have a favorite? Did you have a favorite?
so hmm. So I grew up playing PlayStation and then Xbox. If we so but yeah, I play games in all forms. So as a board game, I probably would say again, financial, I was that guy. Cash flow was really good for me growing up. Right now, I'm very locked in on Catan. I'm not gonna lie. Catan is a game, financial game. I'd also play cards. Like so, I can play spades with the best of them. So if we
So
really
you
talk
like
about
gaming everything.
every aspect
I
of game.
love that.
Yes, I'm a true gamer. I'm not necessarily again. I'm not entering into competitions on a video game and beating people who know how to do it all with one hand. I ain't doing all that now. But if it's a strategic game, for sure, I'm thinking I'm doing circles around you. So that is good. When I'm playing video games, I actually just finished Spider-Man not too long ago. So I love Spider-Man. Dragon Ball Z. So it varies, but yes, it's all types of games, specifically those that make you think, puzzles, role based, decision making type of games. I really like those.
I was, shame on me. I'm thinking gaming, right? Because my son did the Xbox and when you go into the board games, I love that because too, I loved Risk and some of those that were kind of, yeah, strategic type games.
I have a whole, this is like some of the stuff that I have, but like I have a whole like closet full of board games. Because I collect them. I really enjoy them.
So cool. One day that'll be worth something, your whole collection. You know, I listen to this, I just have to say this because collections, I listen to Freakonomics a lot. And one of the collections out there was pizza boxes. And it was worth, he had thousands of pizza boxes. So Kendall, keep all your board games. Then you'll be on Freakonomics talking about that one day.
Maybe, because yeah, I'm an avid Yu-Gi-Oh collector, Yu-Gi-Oh card collector. That was a big one for me. And then yeah, I like collecting games and trying new games and yeah, just playing and just again, I just love the competition.
I bet you'll invent a board game one day.
It's
That's my,
all it's already done. It's already there. It's different phases. We right now we in CPA Con live event phase. Once we get that past that phase, because one thing that I've noticed, growing up and kind of surveying all the different types of financial board games and stuff is that none of them really teach you accounting. They teach you money concepts and everything, but none of them really say, all right, take the time and figure out how much money have you collected during this game. How did you spend it? With Monopoly, right? You just getting as much money as you can, buying what you can, trying to, get, but you don't necessarily know how much money you made during that game, right? No one's taking count of that. Even cash flow, no, you're not really taking count of that. They're great ways of teaching you real estate, financial tactics. They barely scratch the surface with taxes and everything like that. And they're fun and they're interesting, but I've already worked on the game, and Jackie, my wife, she helped with, creating the actual board game because she's, truly great with like creative and design and everything. And we got it already. It's just it's different phases.
You're a great pair,
Yes, yes.
great partner. It's so exciting to think about it. I'm going to ask you one because we could talk for a long time, but we have a limit here. So I guess I have to end with leadership because you definitely are leading. Can you help our audience, especially those young professionals, in what is leadership and what lessons you've learned that you can impart on them as they kind of move forward on their journey and they look for their kind of place in all of this?
Yeah. I think that leadership, it's an interesting thing because I think when I grew up, it was more in the sense of being the person that did everything for everybody, and led the way that way. But as I grew up, I realized that leadership, you don't necessarily, the person who leads doesn't necessarily determine that they're the leader, right? The those who decide to follow that person, have made that person the leader, right? And so it's, if anything, is just live your life boldly and take advantage of the opportunities that show up. And just by doing that, you are a leader because there will be somebody who wants it, who sees that, who's inspired by that, who will want to follow that, and it'll just continue to snowball, and you'll get that confidence, you'll get that that urge to want to continue to do more and have that impact. But I think leadership, again, even in the past, is usually who's the oldest. The oldest person is the one who leads, or who knows the most. And I've been in several, like honestly, many, many situations where I wasn't the oldest, I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the most adept at doing this particular thing, but I ended up being the leader because I was the one who was bold, because I was the one who followed, or again, who found those different paths and decided to walk down those paths and also made sure everybody else was good. Everybody else is something. So it's a very collaborative process. It's definitely something that is leading doesn't you don't get to lead until you get the buy-in from the people that you're leading. And more times than not, you don't get that until you take that step first. So the first person you got to lead is yourself. And then from then on, the dominoes fall.
That's provocative because it's so true. You don't lead until you get the buy-in. You can't pull people. People have to follow you, and you've got to be that leader. That's a drop the mic moment.
Hey, look, when I was saying it, I was like, where's this coming from?
I love that. Well, it's coming from experience, but I too, there's so many leaders out there that are, younger, so many. I'm mentored by my son, by you, things you do, by so many others. It's just really being open, right?
Yep. And that's another, I guess, a good point is that being open to also be led as well, because that only helps you. It only helps you become a better person. It's like in every aspect of your life, you're not going to be a leader, and that's okay. Because, and honestly, if that was the case, then you are in a very small world. If you can lead in every single thing that you do, then you need to really open up the situations that you put yourself in, because there's no real growth in that. There has to be some places where you need to take the lead from someone else. And I know for a fact, even for me, that was a struggle for me growing up, because I thought I had to be that person who had all the answers. I thought I had to be the person who directed them. And I learned later on, it's like, you know what? I just need to be the person who is willing to learn and willing to be bold and willing to take the step and the action, but also willing to collaborate. And and not in every situation do you actually stand in front and lead? But you could even lead by, by taking a bow, taking a step back, and let somebody else, take that, more senior, like have the actual hands on the wheel, because it takes, you know, it takes some leadership and good responsibility and good decision making to know when you're not the person who should be driving this boat.
Well, I don't even know how to follow that. That was just perfect, everything you said. So I hope our listeners took notes. And if you haven't, listen again and take notes on that, because so many lessons in there of sometimes leading is stepping back. And I think that's profound. So, Kendall, with that, give us a pitch again, small pitch for CPA Con, December 3rd, everyone. When you listen to this, there'll be a link. Kendall, I leave it to you.
All right. So you like fun. You like to be engaged. You like to and be in an atmosphere of people who enjoy the same things that you enjoy, get hype at the same things you get hype at, and understand you as a person. And you want that and you crave that. You go to concerts, you go to sports events, you go to the library if that's what you're at. But imagine having all of that within accounting at a event that bridges the gap, includes and cultivates entertainment, gaming, culture, and also helping guide you on your path within the accounting space. And if that all sounds great to you, you want to be at CPA Con December 3rd at the Shrine Expo Hall. We are going to have a ball. Did not mean to rhyme, but it is what it is. And so again, really looking forward to see you guys there. And also for our CPAs out there, it includes CPE. Okay. So we're not just having fun, we're also getting, our CPE requirements checked off the list. And if you can't make it in person, there will be a virtual component as well. So, where you'll be able to see the games and everything. So
I say yes, I will be there, and I look forward to seeing all of you, our audience there. And it's going to be a place to be. So you want to be in on the inaugural on the ground floor. So thanks, Kendall, for talking with me. And most importantly, thank you for your energy, your passion, being you and being bold. We truly appreciate you in the community.
thank you. Appreciate it. And, you say all this, but you're doing a huge amount for our community. And I appreciate, you for leading the way that you do and providing the space for, folks like me coming up and trying to make an impact.
I'll be following you. I already do. So it's all good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Rise and Stride is produced by the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. To learn more, visit calcpa.org.